It's Moodle time.
Okay, it's Moodle time, and this is an exciting episode. This is all about quizzes, and again, this is probably going to be a two-part series. Part one, I'm going to talk about categories and creating a quiz bank or a test bank, and then that's really the hard part. That's the time-consuming part, and then creating the quiz. Although there's quite a lot of features for a quiz, the creation of the quiz is actually a lot more simple. So, first thing is, well, let's just take a look to actually make a quiz. So right now you want to turn on your turn editing on, and to actually create a quiz. Oh, amateur hour! I just turned it off. Okay, to turn it on, you just go to add an activity. So under physical fitness here, add an activity or resource, and you can create a quiz like this and click add. And then you just name it, the name of the quiz. Let's call it hair. Everyone needs a quiz on hair. Okay, so this quiz on hair is there's a lot of settings here. Again, this is another video that I'll go through the settings, and actually I found a nice channel which I'll create a link in the description, and this channel has a few quite good videos on all the different settings from someone who actually knows what they're talking about more than I do. So we'll just, for now, we'll save and display, and you can see there's no questions in this quiz, but the quiz, the hair quiz, has been created, and so you can actually go into it and edit it. And this is where, down here where it says add, this is where we're going to add all the questions. We can add a new question and create the question here, like, and again, we'll be doing this today. But this is not the most efficient way to do things. I would suggest creating a question bank, and then simply adding questions from a question bank, or adding random questions again from a question bank. I think that's the best way. So let's go and see how that works. So the first thing is you click on this gear up here, and you go to more, which is down here, and that more will take you to a lot more settings here, and at the bottom here it says question bank, and it has questions, categories, import, and export. And actually you can click on any of these, but if you click on categories, it brings up this, again, you have questions, categories, import, and export. So it just sends you to this window. And you'll notice for Moodle time, I've actually imported other courses from the WCLM site, and so actually there's a ton of question banks already in here, and each one has a number in brackets that shows how many questions are in each one. So graphing level 2 has 24, graphing level 1 only 11, and the ones like Math Tools 1, there's just one question, but that actually you can see it's the main heading, and then inside of Math Tools there's tons inside of here. And the same thing with different ones, like motion doesn't have any questions inside of it, but it's like the heading of it, and then underneath, and so you can create subheadings of test banks. So that's quite overwhelming if you look through all of these. It's a lot of work that someone's done, and so that's the nice part about being able to use someone else's Moodle. However, you probably will see something quite different. I'm just going to go to a different Moodle. This is one that's being created. Here we go, Science 90. This is one that's being created for the for us to share files for Vanier. So I'm just going to go again to more, down to categories, and you'll see here that there's nothing there. There's no question banks here. And in fact, if you click to see what we do have, it's the same as up there. You can see there's the top for the Science 90, and then the default one. So every Moodle comes with a default category, which is pretty much useless, but it's useful for in case you decide not to make categories, you can put everything in that default one, which I highly do not recommend. So I want to show you how you would organize this. And again, I'll do this on the Science 91, and then I'll probably end up erasing it just so that it doesn't wreck everyone who's teaching Science 90. Okay, so how are we going to do this? I'm going to start with the top for Science 90. And so for each class, there'll be a top level, and then underneath that, there'll be the top kind of parent category, and underneath that, let's imagine in Science 90 that we talk about motion, which is not true. It's in Science 10, but anyway, that's okay. So I'm going to call this category motion, and I'm going to suggest that you decide how you want to organize your course. Let's say for this motion unit, I want to have just general questions, maybe motion pre-test. Maybe I want to do a pre-test in motions to see where the students are at. So I want to create a category called that. And don't worry about the info unless you want to do some extra work, or the ID number. So I'll add that category, and now you can see there it is. It's got nothing in it, no questions in it, which is fine. I'm going to go back to the top. I also want one that's called motion, let's say review. Okay, so I'm going to have a pre-test, I'm going to have a review, and then I'll have a test, a unit test. So let's add that one. Then I'm going to go back and go motion, let's call it unit test. Alright, so I've added 3 categories. Now I'm going to get rid of this default one. Now that I've created new ones, I can delete this default one. That's just not what we want there, and you can see I have 3 there. Now this is fine as long as I don't have too many categories. I probably can keep it like this. If I start creating other units and I have lots of subcategories, you can see with the one that got downloaded with the WCLM from the WCLM site, it had a lot in there. So I might want to consider actually maybe I should create a subcategory called just motion. And if I do that, then you can see these ones probably should be underneath it, so I can actually I can shift them over, and it's basically making them a child category under the parent category of motion, and motion's underneath the top category. So now you can see the top category for Science 90 is here, then we have motion underneath that, and then all the motion things. And then maybe there's another unit, let's say it's Earth, like an Earth science kind of thing. And so for that, I'll add that category. And now you can see there's Earth and motion, and under motion we have 3. And for Earth, I'd also add pre-test 1, review 1, and unit test 1. Okay. Very important, I think, to set up these categories and for each course. And so as much as you know, add your category structure and set them all up so that you have and you can move these up and down. You can maybe Earth, you're like, I want Earth underneath, so yeah, you can move that down so it's in the order that you like to look at it. Okay, once you have the categories, then we can start actually going into these, and for instance for the motion pretest, we could go into this and we could start creating questions, or we could import some from a question bank, which I don't have access to, but at least now I have a structure. So now the next question I want to answer is, what happens if you already have tests? Which I do. Here's an old test for modern physics, and I did all the work in Word, which probably a lot of you have done the same kind of thing. And I have multiple choice here. Then I have a graphing question. Actually, it's just short calculation question here, and a fill in the blank question based on this graph. And then I have some matching. I have some true and false. I have another matching, but this time with pictures. I have a labeling question, and then I have short answer questions where I ask a question, they got to fill in the blank, and then I don't have any long essay questions, but that would be another. This one here, they're supposed to draw as well, so that's going to be a tricky one to do online. So the question is, can I just simply import, or how do I import all these questions into Moodle and create my own without having to do a lot of work? And so I'm going to try to answer that question as best as I can. The simple answer is multiple choice and true and false. They can be transferred with pretty easily. A little bit of work, a little bit of formatting work. The other questions, you're going to have to build them up. And at first, it's going to be a little slow and cumbersome until you get used to how you can create these questions. But you're going to be copy and pasting them over like image at a time, text at a time kind of thing. And so it's not too tricky, but like true and false, again, I'll show you the shortcuts for that and also the multiple choice. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here, and the next video I'll show you how to transfer from a Word document like this into Moodle.